Hello there, very good evening and welcome to the news tonight where we're getting you the day's top stories. I'm Tracy Shilshi and let's head straight to the headlines. Unprecedented action against terror emanating from Pakistan. Indian armed forces launch surgical strikes across the line of control, inflict significant casualties on terrorists. Pakistan denies the claim, summons the Indian High Commissioner. Prime Minister Narendra Modi reviews the situation after the strikes at a meeting of the Cabinet Committee of Security. All-party meeting backs the government and congratulates Army on its successful operation. Union Water Resources Minister Uma Bharti chairs a meeting on the Kaveri water sharing dispute, tells both Karnataka and Tamil Nadu to maintain peace. And for the first time in 8 years, the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, or OPEC, decides to decrease oil production by over 7 lakh barrels a day. Modest cut is expected to push up prices. Our top story through the day, marking a paradigm shift of its approach to cross-border terrorism emanating from Pakistan. India on Thursday carried out a surgical army strike along the line of control in Pakistan. While army officials disclosed that heavy casualties and damage have been inflicted on the terrorists and their armaments, Pakistan has denied the claim, even as it admitted that 2 of its soldiers had died in the operation. Indian High Commissioner Gautam Bambawale was also summoned by the Pakistan Foreign Office. Here are more details.
A little after midnight on Thursday, India took an unprecedented step to signal a historic shift in its strategic response to terror attacks emanating from Pakistani soil. From 12:30 a.m. to 4:30 a.m., ground and helicopter-borne Indian forces entered Pakistani-occupied Kashmir after crossing the line of control to hit 7 terrorist launch pads.
Now, based on very specific and credible information which we received yesterday, that some terrorist teams had positioned themselves at launch pads along the line of control with an aim to carry out infiltration and terrorist strikes in Jammu and Kashmir and various other metros in our country. The Indian Army conducted surgical strikes last night at these launch pads.
The army said the strikes severely damaged the targets and inflicted significant terrorist casualties. Some Pakistani soldiers who were trying to help the terrorists were also reported killed.
During these counter-terrorist operations, significant casualties have been caused to the terrorists and those who are trying to support them. The operations aimed at neutralizing the terrorists have since ceased. I have just spoken to the Pakistani Director General of Military Operations and explained our concerns and also shared with him the operations we had conducted last night.
The strikes come in the wake of the September 18th terror attack on the Indian armed forces in Uri sector of Jammu and Kashmir that killed 18 Indian soldiers and left some injured. The incident triggered huge public pressure on the government to respond in equal measure.
It is India's intention to maintain peace and tranquility in the region. But we can certainly not allow the terrorists to operate across the line of control with impunity and attack the citizens of our country.
Before going on the offensive, India made persistent requests to Pakistan's authorities to persuade it to stop the terrorist infiltration. Pakistani High Commissioner Abdul Basit was also summoned and given proof of involvement of Pakistan-based terrorist groups in the attack. 20 infiltration bids were foiled in the meantime, even as Pakistan maintained its traditional insensitivity to the problem. India is now telling Pakistan that its surgical strike had a specific objective to intimidate the terrorists. But if Pakistan tries to retaliate, it is ready for a rebuttal.
We do not have any plans for further continuation of the operations. However, the Indian armed forces are fully prepared for any contingency that may arise.
After the operation, Prime Minister Narendra Modi reviewed the situation at a meeting of the Cabinet Committee on Security. Heads of Army, Navy and Air Force along with Home Minister Rajnath Singh, External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj and Defence Minister Manohar Parrikar were present at the meeting. The armed forces have been told to remain vigilant and ready for any misadventure or retaliatory action by Pakistan.
Surgical strike against the terrorist camp in Pakistan was in the air for a long time. Now Government of India has done it. It is a clear message to Pakistan whether it wants cooperation or confrontation on the issue of terrorism. Akhilesh Suman with Vishal Dahiya and camera person Manoj Kumar in Delhi.
Meanwhile, leaders of all major political parties were briefed by the Home Minister Rajnath Singh on the situation in the wake of the Indian Army's surgical strike targeting those terror launch pads across the line of control. All parties backed the move, also congratulating the army.
Hours after announcing the army's surgical strike targeting terror launch pads across the line of control, the NDA government convened a meeting of leaders of major political parties to brief them about the situation.
और सबने आर्मी को हार्दिक बधाई दिया और सबने कहा ये पाकिस्तान को मालूम हो गया, इसको हम लोग आगे ऐसी घटनाओं को बर्दाश्त नहीं करेंगे.
Cutting across party lines, leaders congratulated the Indian Army and reiterated their support for the government.
पाकिस्तान की तरफ से हमारे देश पे थोपा जा रहा है, उस टेररिज्म को खत्म करने के लिए जो भी कदम सरकार उठाएगी, हमारा उसका समर्थन हमेशा रहेगा. हमारी फौज को मकसद हमारा है कि टेररिज्म खत्म हो जाए.
हम लोगों ने सरकार को पूरी तरह से आश्वस्त किया कि हम सब लोग साथ हैं और फौज ने बहुत सक्सेसफुल तरीके से इस ऑपरेशन को जो अंजाम दिया, इसके लिए फौज को हम लोगों ने बधाई दी और सरकार को कहा कि हम सब लोग एक साथ खड़े हैं.
Aside, I have congratulated the Indian Army for these operations. Good, that is good. But what exactly is the overall assessment? They said it will take a little time to make that assessment.
Earlier in the day, the Prime Minister briefed the President, the Vice President and former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh about the surgical strikes by the Indian Army. On his part, the Home Minister informed Chief Ministers of West Bengal, Odisha, Punjab, Bihar and other states about the strikes. External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj met Congress President Sonia Gandhi and briefed her on the issue. Vishal Dahiya's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Meanwhile, the meeting to review, in fact, the most favoured nation status granted to Pakistan has been postponed till next week. The decision to review the MFN status came in the wake of the Uri attack. The status was accorded to Pakistan in 1996 under WTO's General Agreement on Tariffs on Trade. And under the agreement, all WTO member countries should treat each other as favoured trading partners. Even though India has obliged for decades, Pakistan is yet to reciprocate the favour. And according to ASSOCHAM, Pakistan accounted for a meagre $2.67 billion as compared to India's total merchandise trade of $641 billion in 2015-16. Meanwhile, India's exports to the neighbouring country worked out to a $2.17 billion, while imports were less than $500 million. Now, while most of India did hail the Indian Army's success across the LOC, markets responded negatively to the news of the surgical strikes. The Sensex closed in at 465 points down at 27,827 on Thursday, while the Nifty settled 154 points down at 8,591. All the 19 sub-indices of the BSE also traded in the red. The rupee also fell by 46 paise to 66 rupees 91 paise against the US dollar in its biggest intraday plunge since Brexit in June this year. The broader markets, which had recently outperformed the benchmark indices, also came under heavy selling pressure. BSE mid-cap and small-cap indices slumped nearly 4%. In other news, there seems to be no solution forthcoming to end the Kaveri water dispute between Karnataka and Tamil Nadu. A day after Karnataka deferred the release of 6,000 cusecs of Kaveri water to Tamil Nadu as directed by the Supreme Court, Tamil Nadu Chief Minister Jayalalitha hit out strongly at the Siddaramaiah-led Karnataka government. She said that Karnataka was deliberately defying the apex court's order. A meeting convened by Union Minister Uma Bharti in Delhi to broker a compromise also failed to produce any outcome.
Following the Supreme Court order to hold a mediation session between Karnataka and Tamil Nadu over Kaveri water sharing, Union Water Resources Minister Uma Bharti chaired a meeting with representatives from both states. Karnataka was represented by Chief Minister Siddaramaiah, while PWD Minister E. Palaniswamy represented Tamil Nadu as Chief Minister Jayalalitha is unwell. The Water Resources Minister, however, was unable to broker a compromise between the states, saying it's up to the Supreme Court now to take a decision.
Whatever Honorable Supreme Court has ordered our ministry through Attorney General, the advice came, we are just bound to do that. We called the meeting. It was an opportunity for both the state to find the solution. Even they tried their best, but ultimately the solution could not be achieved. And now things are again in the front of Honorable Supreme Court, and we will send our notes, whatever we have noted, every word will be sent to the Honorable Court through AG.
At the meeting, Karnataka Chief Minister Siddaramaiah urged the centre to form an expert team to visit the state and assess the ground realities of the water situation. That proposal was rejected by Tamil Nadu.
There was a request from the Karnataka government to our ministry, and the request was to form an expert committee to take a view over the availability of the water there in Tamil Nadu and Karnataka over this dispute. For that, in his speech, Honorable Chief Minister of Karnataka pressed, and I asked for the opinion of the Tamil Nadu government on this, and for that the Tamil Nadu government could not give its consent.
Tamil Nadu Chief Minister Jayalalitha accused the Karnataka government for deliberately defying the Supreme Court order once again, calling it utter contempt. In a statement, Jayalalitha said, and I quote, "In utter disregard and in complete contempt of the orders of the Honorable Supreme Court, Karnataka failed to release the stipulated quantity of water to Tamil Nadu. This deliberate defiance goes against the spirit of the Constitution itself and amounts to contempt of the apex court. Karnataka has not followed the orders of the Supreme Court and has, on the other hand, permitted unruly elements to create law and order issues." Unquote. The Karnataka government has delayed the release of Kaveri water to Tamil Nadu for the second time this week. The Supreme Court on Wednesday ordered the state to release 6,000 cusecs of water for 3 days. The state, however, deferred the release following an all-party meeting. The matter will now come up for hearing in the Supreme Court on Friday. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Congress Vice President Rahul Gandhi was granted relief by a Guwahati court on Thursday in a criminal defamation case. The case was filed against him by an RSS functionary. Rahul Gandhi appeared as an accused before the court and was granted a personal recognizance bond as he appeared personally and in deference to his status as a member of parliament. Flanked by former Assam Chief Minister Tarun Gogoi and a huge number of party workers, Gandhi said that he was not scared of such cases. He also accused the RSS of trying to divide India, adding that he will continue to fight their ideology.
ये जो मेरे खिलाफ केसेस लगाए जा रहे हैं, ये मुझे उस काम से रोकने के लिए लगाए जा रहे हैं, मगर मैं इन केसेस से डरता नहीं हूँ। जितना ये लगाएंगे उतना मैं आगे बढ़ूंगा, उतना मैं हिंदुस्तान के बेरोजगार युवाओं की मदद करूंगा, उतना मैं गरीब किसानों की मदद करूंगा।
And now let's give you some more national news updates in Nationwide. Senior BJP leader L. Ganesan will file his nomination papers tomorrow for Rajya Sabha bypoll to the lone vacant seat from Madhya Pradesh. The seat fell vacant after former Union Minister Najma Heptullah resigned on the 20th of August after being appointed as Governor of Manipur. The nomination filing process will end on the 3rd of October, scrutiny on the 4th, and the last date for withdrawal of candidature is October 6th. If necessary, polling will be held on the 17th of October and soon after counting of votes will take place. The Supreme Court today reserved its verdict for Friday on appeals challenging the grant of bail to RJD leader Shahabuddin in a murder case. The apex court had on Wednesday come down heavily on the Bihar government for not placing the facts before the Patna High Court that granted bail to Shahabuddin in the case. His advocate opposed the appeals and said right to life and liberty should not be curtailed in normal circumstances. The Delhi Commission for Women today served a notice to the CBI seeking details about the action taken by the agency after a top government official and his son blamed them for harassment in their suicide note. Police found the bodies of former Director General of Corporate Affairs B.K. Bansal, who was being investigated in a corruption case, and his son hanging in their home on Tuesday. 2 months ago, his wife and daughter had also hanged themselves, alleging harassment by the CBI. In Uttarakhand, senior BJP leader Narendra Rautela joined the ruling Congress ahead of the assembly polls in the state. He was welcomed by Chief Minister Harish Rawat. BJP President Ajay Bhatt described the development as good riddance for the party. Political observers feel that the inclusion of Rautela in the Congress poll stirs the party's chances in the assembly polls next year, while severely denting the BJP revival in Uttarakhand. A quick break here. Up next, we're getting international news. Stay with us.
If you look at the cellular level, there is always a DNA change that precipitates cancer. In the sense of the DNA, cancer is a completely genetic disease. In India, oral cancer is the maximally prevalent form of cancer among males in India. Among females, it's cervical cancer, but breast cancer is taking over.
What Eureka with Dr. Partha P. Majumdar, Director, National Institute of Biomedical Genomics, only on Rajya Sabha TV.
Welcome back. Let's get to some more news now. In fact, on Thursday, Vice President Mohammad Hamid Ansari reached Mali after concluding his 4-day visit to Nigeria. In Nigeria's capital, Abuja, Vice President held talks with the Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari and his counterpart Yemi Osinbajo. While delivering a lecture on the legacy of India's national movement at the Lagos University, Vice President invoked Mahatma Gandhi's ideologies on communal harmony and told students that India's constitution has comprehensively defined secularism as separation of religion from politics and state. He also stressed on the need for youth to have a sense of history and know that the environment that encourages their aspirations was built on the sacrifice and toil of others. Now, the international news. The Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, or OPEC, has decided to decrease oil production by over 7 lakh barrels per day. Although the cut is modest, it could see oil prices inch up and impact countries like India, which depend heavily on imports for its energy needs. Here's a report.
It would be the first time in 8 years that the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries would lower their output. The agreement was reached on Wednesday at a meeting in Algiers. Under the agreement, OPEC oil production is expected to be reduced to a range of 32.5 million barrels per day from the current 33.4 million. Saudi Arabia, the world's largest oil producer, is expected to give up 3.5 lakh barrels a day. 1 barrel contains 159 litres of oil. The decision triggered an immediate spike of more than 5% in crude prices. Experts say the decision will impact big oil-consuming nations like India. OPEC controls over 40% of global oil production, and about 85% of India's total oil imports come from OPEC nations. Escalation in crude oil prices may widen India's current account deficit and nudge inflation.
Import, the value will go up, so some negative impact on the exchange rate, some negative impact on the balance of payment, the trade gap also. So that has been of late. Somehow we find that imports are shrinking.
Iran, Nigeria and Libya are exempted from the production cuts. Economic sanctions were lifted on Iran earlier this year, and Libya and Nigeria have had some of their oil facilities damaged by terrorist attacks in recent months.
The global oversupply caused crude oil prices to plummet to as low as $26 per barrel in February. However, the government of India did not pass on full benefits to the consumers to mop up revenue for its welfare schemes. And this, many say, will avert a huge price shock when crude oil prices reverse. Reporting from Delhi with camera person Manish Phalla, I'm Kriti Mishra for Rajya Sabha Television.
The US Congress rejected President Barack Obama's veto of the Saudi 9/11 lawsuits bill. This is the first veto override of his presidency, and it marks a major blow to Obama as well as to Saudi Arabia, that is one of the longest-standing allies of the US in the Arab world. The bill, known as the Justice Against Sponsors of Terrorism, allows families of 9/11 victims to sue Saudi Arabian officials.
In the first veto override of his 8-year presidency, the US Congress overwhelmingly rejected President Barack Obama's veto of the legislation, allowing relatives of the victims of the September 11 attacks to sue Saudi Arabia. The House of Representatives voted 348-76 against the veto, while the Senate rejected it 97-1, turning the Justice Against Sponsors of Terrorism Act into a law.
These families will never get back their loved ones, but they deserve justice and a day in court, and that is why we will today, I hope, override the president's veto. 15 years after that tragedy, we are still learning the facts, but there is mounting evidence that the Saudi government, or at least organizations and operatives within the Saudi government, aided and abetted one of the most massive crimes in the United States.
Obama called overriding the veto a big mistake. Calling it a political vote, Obama said the bill would set a dangerous precedent that could put US troops and interests at risk. Obama had argued in his veto that the bill would undermine US-Saudi relations and warned of tit-for-tat lawsuits against US service members in places like Afghanistan and Iraq. However, the Senate said they were not convinced by his argument.
He cites concerns that the bill would, quote, create complications, close quote, he says, with some of our close partners. But the truth is, JASTA only targets foreign governments who sponsor terrorist attacks on American soil, plain and simple. I don't know how that would create complications with some of our close partners.
The Justice Against Sponsors of Terrorism legislation opens the door for victims' families to sue any member of the Saudi government suspected of playing a role in the 9/11 attacks. 15 of the 19 hijackers were Saudi nationals, but the oil-rich kingdom, a key US ally, has denied any role in the attacks. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And here are more international news updates in Global Buzz. Australian Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull said that he will be tireless in seeking justice for all victims of the Malaysia Airlines flight MH17, that investigations revealed linked Russia and pro-Russian separatists to the missile that brought it down. A report claimed the Buk missile was brought from Russia and fired from a region in eastern Ukraine controlled by pro-Russian rebels. In response to the report, Turnbull said that he would continue to pursue justice for not only the 38 Australians on board, but all victims of the tragedy. Taiwan's President Tsai Ing-wen visited flooded areas and inspected the damage inflicted by Typhoon Maggie in southern Taiwan. The storm brought strong winds and rain through Tuesday and Wednesday. Maggie is the third typhoon to hit Taiwan this month and has killed at least 4 people and injured more than 600, cutting power to millions as well. At least 33 people went missing in China's Zhejiang province after heavy rains triggered landslides. The government has mobilized more than 1,200 persons, 21 excavators, 4 pumps and other emergency equipment for rescue work. A temporary relocation site was set up in a nearby village where 118 people were settled and a total of 176 beds, 50 items of clothing and some food packets were sent to the victims as well. And finally, let's get you some updates from the world of sports in Sports Beat. The government has announced a total cash reward of 90 lakh rupees for the medal winners of the Rio Paralympics. Gold medal winners high jumper Mariappan Thangavelu and javelin thrower Devendra Jhajaria will be rewarded 30 lakh rupees each. Deepa Malik, who won a silver medal in shot put, will be given 20 lakh rupees. And high jumper Varun Singh Bhati, who won a bronze, will be given 10 lakh rupees. Indian shuttler Ajay Jairam reached the quarterfinals of the Korea Open Super Series. World number 27 Indian defeated Huang Yuxiang of China 21-15, 21-18. He's now the lone Indian in the competition after B. Sai Praneeth bowed out with a straight sets defeat against 6th-seeded Korean Sun Won-ho. Earlier, Kidambi Srikanth, H.S. Pranoy and Parupalli Kashyap lost in the first round. Atletico Madrid ended Bayern Munich's winning streak with a 1-0 victory at home in the Champions League group stage. Yannick Carrasco struck for the Spanish side in 35th minute to make it 2 out of 2 wins for Atletico Madrid. In another game, Barcelona came from behind to beat German side Borussia Mönchengladbach 2-1. After going a goal down in the first half, Arda Turan and Gerard Pique scored in the second half to maintain Barca's unbeaten run. Meanwhile, English side Manchester City settled for a 3-3 draw against Celtic. The Scottish Celtic led 3 times in the game but squandered the lead every time to settle for a point. However, Arsenal eased past Basel with 2-0 win. Theo Walcott scored both the goals for the Gunners. World number 1 Novak Djokovic has withdrawn from next week's China Open in Beijing because of an elbow injury. A 6-time champion in Beijing, Djokovic last played in the US Open final when he was beaten by Stan Wawrinka. And that's all we have for you in the news tonight. Thanks so much for joining us.